Herzlich willkommen. Wir haben hier gerade ein paar Leute von Novaquark und wir werden jetzt mal ein kleines Interview machen über Dual Universe. Das Ganze geht ein bisschen auf Englisch. Wir können euch ja nochmal unten drunter schreiben, was genau wir gesagt haben, was so der gröbste Content ist, wenn ihr nicht so gut Englisch könnt. Okay.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Hi, and your name is?
My name is Jesse Bailly. I'm the founder of Novaquark.
And yeah, welcome. My first question is, you said many players will start at the same point. Will they also be able to build a ship in a very fast time? Because if you have thousands of players and every one of them want to build a small ship, will they be able to build it at the spawn and will be able to fly around with that ship?
Okay, so first of all, I mean, building a ship in the game will be an adventure that you have to go through. So it's not like everybody's going to spawn and build a ship right away. You have to collect materials, you have to unlock technologies, you have to build your first ship, it doesn't fly, you have to improve it, etc., etc. So we want to gamify that. What you said is that thousands of players are going to start at the same starting point. So that calls for an explanation, right? The thing is, we have developed this technology to have potentially, I don't know, millions of players, probably not at start obviously, but in the long run, millions of players sharing the same world at the same time. That's what we call the continuous single shard universe. So there is only one server and everybody connects on that. And it makes a big difference in terms of gameplay because you will be able to have what we call emergent gameplay, where people start to cooperate or compete, work together and create organizations, do trading, politics, economy is very realistic also in the game. So we want to make this emerging from the players. So what they are going to do at the beginning, they will probably spread a bit around the spawn point, which is the arc ship. They will spread a bit, they will secure some territories, and they will start to build stuffs by small groups, I suppose. And then they will start to gather and make bigger and bigger alliances. And this is a game that is going to span over, I suppose, several years. So the experience you have is going to evolve over time. This is kind of exciting, I think, that you have a pioneer experience at the beginning, and then after that, when you join the game, maybe in a few years, you will enter into a full civilization. Maybe there will be lots of buildings around you, around the spawn point, right? With billboards, advertising jobs and things to do. So this is the long-term vision that we want to do.
So everything in the planet is player built? Or will you have like planet bases or big cities where you can go with NPCs and talk to them and trade with them? Or is that everything from players?
No, there won't be any NPC city, or actually no NPCs except maybe animals or things you can hunt. Maybe not at the start, we are not sure. But the point is, everybody you encounter in the game is a player. That's the vision. Everything is emerging from the players. Players can build their stuff, they can build their spaceship, they can build their orbital stations or cities. We don't do that, we just give them the tool to do it. And I find it very exciting because you don't know what's going to come out of that. When you explore, it's meaningful because you can really be surprised. But what you find, maybe you will find a secret base that nobody has seen before, organized by maybe 20 players that lives remotely from others. This is the kind of things you can find out. It's not procedurally generated content that after a while, you see always the same kind of stuff, right? This is going to be a human creativity, and the amount of things you can see is unlimited.
And are the ships player bound, or can you make like a thief company and steal other players' ships, or how will you do that?
Of course, you can steal someone's ship, but there are safe zones where you can be quiet. You won't be bothered. If you go away from those safe zones, then you enter an area where you have to be careful. You have to have weapons. You have to defend yourself, or to have good friends with you. So this is how it's going to work. But you can steal a ship. Technically, it's going to go through hacking. You're going to hack the central command of the ship, and it becomes yours. The ship is a physical thing, so it has there are rooms inside it. You could have several people, so you could also bridge the hull and go inside the ship and board it and try to kill everybody in it, or try to convince them to give you the ship because you're going to kill them otherwise. I don't know, but this is completely open in the way you can get other people's ships. Probably the best strategy is not to destroy a ship systematically, because you want the stuff in it, you want the ship itself, it's valuable. So all sorts of strategy will unfold, I think, in the future.
And how long will it take to capture a ship or to steal it? Because is there any possibility to defend your ship if you see, oh, someone is hacking my ship, I need to go there and need to defend it? Or
so there will be a lot of possibilities because each ship, or actually each construct in the game is scriptable. So you can actually program certain things to react to certain situations, like somebody trying to breach, somebody just simply approaching the ship while is member of an organization that you flag as an enemy. You could get automatic weapons to fire on him, for example. You can program that. And so you could do these kind of things. The time it takes to take a ship will depend on the ship, because there is no such thing as a ship in the game. You see what I mean? It's not like there is a concept of the ship. It's just you construct things, and it turns out that it is a ship because it has all the characteristics of a ship. And depending on how solid you make it, how big you make it, how redundant you make it, it will be more or less difficult to actually capture it if that's what you want to do. So it's not like I can give you a definite answer to that.
so you can have like interior weapon systems and so to defend your ship and to make the time even longer to capture it?
Absolutely, but then your enemy can also find a weakness in your super well-planned strategy, and because he knows about the plan, because you bought, for example, a standard chip that has been made by another corporation in the game that is mass marketing it because it's very successful. So a lot of players are buying this chip, which is nice. It has lots of characteristics, but some players are reverse engineering certain aspects of it. So they found a weakness, you see, and so all those things could happen.
Like in the Death Star, the little hole with the weak situation in the ship. So
there's always a weakness, right? Yes. So
and the player companies, will only companies be able to build space stations, or can every player build space stations? If you are alone and you want a bigger station with a little garage in it with some ships and so on, can you as one player build such a construction?
It's all about the size of things, right? It's unlikely that one guy can build something as big as the space station that you have seen in the videos, for example, because this thing is monstrously big. So it requires, we don't even know actually how many players it will require, but it's a lot of work to do that. If you want to do a small ship all by yourself, this will be possible. And you can extend it, make it a bit bigger over time, and at some point it gets a pretty decent size. That's a possibility. But behemoth, really huge stuff. It's the doing of several players cooperating, because you have to gather the resources, you have to secure the construction point, you have to make the plans, you have to maintain it. You probably need a crew of people all the time in it to make sure that it's well defended, even though you have automatic defense system, but it's better to be there if something happens. You see, it's a big thing. It's not something you do on your side, I think.
And there's no limitation about how many players can be in one group or in one company, or is it a limit like 50 people and no more? Or
I don't see a good reason to put a limit at the moment. So there is no, we don't think it's necessary. So you could have an organization with 1,000 people, or you could have also, an organization that contains other organizations, basically an alliance, that ultimately, if you make the count of everybody in it, which is much more than thousands of players, I don't know. So it will start small, I think, at the beginning, because I don't think we will have millions of people in the game at the start, I suppose. So it will start to grow progressively, and I like that. I like that it grows over time and it gets more and more solid. And so we'll see what comes out in terms of numbers.
And can you specify some of the parts of the ship? Like, are there medic stations or engineer rooms or cockpits, and what is everything in the ship you can build and you need for the ship to run?
Okay, very shortly, a ship or a construct is made of two things. First, the structure of it, which is made of matter that you put around with the voxel technology that we have. So basically, you sculpt the shape of the thing. And the second part is that you add what we call elements, which are functional units, like a weapon, like a cockpit, like a radar, like a container, like an engine, etc., etc. So like a repair unit. So for example, a unit that will be used in a repair bay. So all the things then are assembled by the player or the players on this structure that you've made with voxels to give functionality to your construct. So if you want to make a certain area of your ship that is dedicated to medical bay with containers containing some repair aid kits, for example. You could do that, and you call it the med kit, the med bay. Sorry, that's because you call it like that, it becomes that. So there is no such thing as, I will put medical area here, clutch, and it's done. No, you do it yourself the way you like. So it's completely open again. So we provide the building blocks, what we call the elements, that will give you the vocabulary to build, or the grammar if you want, to build anything you want. And you will be able to make the standard things you expect, the cargo bay, the repair area, the faster than light system, and all those things, and make it the way you like.
And do you have an air system? Like, if you go into the ship, do you need a helmet or can you breathe in the ship?
We would like to do that, but I'm not sure we can. This is still an open question. There is the technical difficulty is to decide what is inside and outside of something whose shape is completely open. You don't know, so we need to calculate that, and it's a difficult computational problem. It's not difficult, we know how to do it, but I mean it's computationally intensive, and it might not actually run properly to make it in real time. If you have a huge ship and you breach just a tiny hole in the hull, computationally you need to be monitoring every possible hole everywhere all the time. It doesn't scale easily. But we may be make approximations to that, so we still have some notion of interior, exterior. We'll see that. For the moment, it's not planned.
Okay. And what will happen if two ships run in each other?
Okay, so we've recently decided that this will not actually generate damage, because we don't want people to turn ships into weapons. I don't think it's going to work if we do that, because then you will have a lot of ships or actually just constructs that are used as torpedoes. That will create loads on the server for no good reasons. It doesn't bring a lot of very interesting gameplay. So probably when ship collides, they just bump into each other, and that's it. We could do collision damage based on the impact, the point of impact, and then we spread the energy of the impact around just like any damage. But for gameplay reasons, we probably won't actually have damage on ship against ship to avoid torpedoes and people just bumping into ships to annoy other people. I don't think it's going to be nice in terms of gameplay. But we'll discuss that. I mean, I'd like to have the opinion of the community on this particular point.
My opinion is also that ship construction is really, really bad because of, like you said, torpedo ships and something like that. I hate some people that go out and don't fight with weapons. They only build ships and throw them in the other ships as rockets and destroy everything. That's really, really bad, yeah.
I think it makes a rather poor gameplay, in fact. Rather than having to carefully, arrange your weapons and make choices and trade-offs and things, you just make a huge stuff that you bump into others. Not sure it's going to be, very rewarding in terms of gameplay again. Even though it could be fun, to do it once, but Okay.
And is there any possibility to have a blueprint of a ship? Like if you build a small ship and you want to copy it and want to build it furthermore and so on, is there any possibility to do that?
It's not only a possibility, it's a central core idea of the game design, is that whatever you make, you can blueprint it, then you can make a copy of this blueprint and sell it on the markets, the in-game markets, for industrialists to buy it and make your ship, or you make it yourself, by the way, but to start to mass produce your ship. And the idea is that some players or some group of players are going to design the super successful, Falcon X32 that everybody loves. And this is a central idea of having specialization in the game. Some people will never have to deal with building a ship because they don't like it, or they don't know how, or it's not their stuff. All they want is to fly ships, no problem. They go on the markets, they buy ships from the most successful companies in the game, selling the best ships, and that's it. And you don't need to be an expert in shipbuilding to actually enjoy the game. This is a very important point. And that goes also for all sorts of other activities that are going to be, if you want, distributed through the economy and through the markets with specialization. So this is a central key feature, actually.
And how will you create your own company? Will you be able to start just a company and you decide what you do, or can you choose at first? Okay, I want to do like something like thieves, or I want to sell ships, and you have to select it, and then you can only do that, or can you change with the time and so on?
The key idea of what we're doing is what I call. Oh, sorry,
No
should have
problem.
stopped my phone. The key idea is what I call. I'm not the only one. It's a fairly standard term, emergent gameplay. So we don't want to actually, we want to put some building blocks at every level, building, economy, everything, and then let people actually build from that. That is also true for organizations, which is the notion of a group in the game that generalizes guilds and the things you find in other MMOs. And an organization is a sort of a template you can specify and customize to make it a democratic nation, a dictatorship, or a corporation that is traded on the market or not. I mean, you can do, or guild of pirates. So you can specialize this notion of organization within the game to whatever you want. And you can actually invent new type of organizations if you want. That's what we hope, that people will come up with new ways of sharing power, basically. So there is no explicit notion of a corporation. We will give templates, again, so that people can pick a standard corporation type of organization that it can customize afterwards, but there is no predefined notion of an organization that is a corp, and even less, corp that will be dedicated to mining and things like that. It's what you do with your corp and with your corp mates that is going to decide effectively what your corp is doing. It's not like it's set by the game itself.
Yes. And when there are many corps, they need a lot of space. So the question is, how big is the universe at the moment, and will you expand it later, or how many planets do you have at the moment in the universe which you can explore and build stuff on?
There's no real limit to the number of planets we can have, because everything is procedurally generated, which is fairly common now. So we have a seed, basically, which is a number that spawns the whole planet. So the real question is not how many planets or how big. It could be as big as you want. Is how we're going to gamify that. How is the gameplay about it? The idea is that, as I said, everybody starts in the same place at the beginning, and people will start to spread around this point. And going to another system, so exploring beyond the first solar system where you start, is going to involve building stargates, which is going to be a very expensive, complex, and long process. First of all, you have to send a probe to the destination, a physical probe that will actually take a lot of time, like between a week and a month, to go to the destination, where it will deploy, so you can make a first jump, and you have only one jump thanks to the probe, and then you bring all the materials to start to build a Stargate, which is a huge thing that takes a lot of time to do. And then you have established basically a road between your original system and this new system, and you do that again and again. And the idea is that the size of the universe will grow as players expand and explore and decide where they want to put their stargates. They will be able to use, information about what could be the kind of planets that will be in this system based on the type of sun, for example, so that they have an idea that maybe we will find this kind of resources, so it's worth making a stargate over there. So you have to debate and decide where to put the next Stargate. That's the idea. And so the size of the universe will grow as players grow and as much as they explore. And I like it because the places you will be able to explore have meaning, because people have decided to go there for a reason. So it will be probably inhabited. So there are things to discover. It's interesting.
And so players build the Stargates, you said. Would they also be able to take taxes for traveling through the Stargates and so on? And are there parking lots for your ships where you can dock on the ground and say, okay, I want to let my ship here and go to another planet and go do further work there?
Okay, that's all questions. Yeah, Stargates will be something that many corporations or guilds or whatever will actually try to monetize in the game. So there will be they can set a tax to go through your Stargate. You can imagine that at some point there are several Stargates next to each other. One is a sort of a private Stargate for certain corp, certain organizations that will be able to go through it. The others are more open, but you have to pay, and you can make a business out of that, like the highway industry, if you want. So you could get your pass to go through certain network of Stargates at reduced cost because you're a member of or something, So this is going to be cool. See what people do with that. Of course, you can monetize the targets. About the parkings, we're going to work on that so that you can formally park your ship somewhere. This is important, but it's too early to talk about precise gameplay. We're still thinking about that. But of course, yes, you have to have a way to park your ship and dock into a station and things like that.
And docking to a station, you said, is there any plan how you will be able to dock with your ship on the space station or on the bigger ship? And can you have like a big ship with a garage in it where you have little hunter ships or so?
Absolutely. The thing is, it's realistic, so the things are not formal. You have a large ship, you have space inside it. You can get a ship that flies inside it and just land, and that works. Then it will actually be docked to it, so physically attached to it, and that's it. And it becomes a part of the ship. Whatever happens to the big ship happens to the small ship, and that's it. Now, I think in terms of gameplay, it might be difficult sometimes to land. It's real physics, and so we might have things that help you to automatically land. So you have a docking unit on your ship. There's a docking unit on the station. You link and you say dock, and it docks you, and that's it. We might have to deal also with collisions, because if it's a real parking, it's a mess, to go. I mean, if you look at the parking for cars, it's very difficult. So we may actually make it simpler by disabling collisions during the docking phase, things like that, to make life easier, so that you don't say, okay, in the next 30 minutes I'm going to park, like in real life. Yeah. It's not fun.
Okay, that sounds pretty nice, and I think we're good with it. All our questions are answered.
Well, thank you, Dankeschön. Ich hoffe, dass du magst das Game, korrekt?
Ja.
Gut. Danke.
Super, vielen Dank. Ciao.